Welcome to Momentum. Tonight we're going to be talking about undereating, and we're going to define what undereating. In this video, you're going to learn about what undereating is, have it defined, also go through some behavioral issues, some psychological issues that come up with it. We're going to define what some good caloric intakes are for a healthy body, and I'm not sure what else. We'll find out. We got a lot. Okay, so first up, under eating. Many people want to change their weight, and they do it by under eating, right? Caloric restriction is the way to do it. If you drop 500 calories per day for the week, you'll lose a pound. If you drop 1,000 calories, you'll lose 2+ pounds in a week. And so that's how it's mathematically put out. 3,500 calories is roughly equal to a pound of fat, and that's what all sorts of information out there touts. And so just simple mathematical equations will do that. And so if you just drop those 500 calories, then you can do it. Now there's two different ways to do it. Through obviously diet restriction. Plenty of people have lost weight just in their nutrition alone. The more positive, beneficial way to do it is going to be through diet and exercise. You're going to be able to have the actual diet or ideally lifestyle change work better for you in a much more longer term way. That is super important for us. We want behavioral changes over the long term and not necessarily a quick fix. Some of you have probably done a quick fix and it doesn't work out in the long term. Usually impedes yo-yo dieting. We have some other issues we'll talk about as we go. Again, what is undereating? What it is that we're going to try and change our body weight by eating less. This is commonly known as dieting. And for the most part, if you're healthy, undereating is okay for a short period of time. Now, one thing that you want to consider when going through long dietary episodes would be to have a diet break. So every couple weeks you actually go back to a maintenance level of calories. I know it would freak you out and kind of sound crazy, but you actually raise your calories back up 500 or more calories and eat there for a given amount of time. This allows for metabolism to get reestablished, your body to deal far less stress, and we can go from there. For many, undereating becomes a way of life. I've seen many people do it. I have a couple clients now that I struggle with trying to get to actually eat more food, and oddly enough, it is something that I deal with far more than overeating, it seems. So overeating may have gotten you into a place of stuck and then initially, but undereating can get you in a longer term stuck. All right. Undereating takes many forms. First, it's a restraint of eating to keep your weight under control. Severe eating restraints that will cause your weight to stay under strict control. We have eliminating specific food groups, specifically carbohydrates, tend to be the ones that have health fears around them. When you eat, the common idea is that you actually put on weight when you have carbs, especially when you add them back in, and that's just simply your body attracting water. So we'll kind of cut through some stuff right now. When you have carbohydrates in the body, 1 gram of glycogen is what it ends up converting into. Carbohydrates convert into glycogen, which is stored in the muscle. 1 gram of glycogen will attract 3 grams of water. So consequently, for every gram of glycogen that's stored, we have a total of 4 grams of weight that's added to the body. The muscles can roughly have about 350 grams of stored muscle glycogen on the body. Most of us don't move enough, and consequently we end up storing all those carbohydrates. We often spill over into, so pretend like our muscles are a bucket or a box. We'll do a box since that's what it looks like here. So what happens is inside the box, the glycogen stacks up, fills the whole box up. If we don't do exercise to burn off some of that stored glycogen and we add more carbs into our system, what happens is it spills over the top, and that's what accumulates body fat. So the spillage over starts accumulating body fat because we have too much stored glycogen. We don't need the carbs. Okay, so that's what happens when you eat carbs, and then when you take them away and you eliminate them, then what happens is that all that carb storage goes down. Consequently, the water goes out of the body and it's not retained as much, and therefore you lose weight. And oftentimes you can see that as a quick, rapid weight loss when people first get onto a diet and start cutting out carbs. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is body fat, and that is carbs are definitely have a lot of fear around them with putting on weight. With under eating, we have some issues with anorexia, which is where you literally just don't eat, and then someone who might have, so anorexia, they just don't eat, or bulimia, they overeat. So to control that reaction or the compulsion is to just kind of undereat. So the anorexia is somebody with extreme compulsion to undereat. Okay, I've not really ran across too many people who have actually shared with me what if they are that or not. So next up, what I would like to do is go over what calories are and how they affect your body. Okay, so your calorie needs explained. Okay, calorie is defined as a unit, an amount of energy that raises the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so that's just what calories are. So when they burn, that's how much we get out of it. Okay, how we measure those for our food is obviously in calories. So then we have a basis for how to match up the actual food with the intake that it has. Okay, so obviously, like a donut has like 200-300 calories in it. A piece of broccoli has like 2 calories in it. And so by knowing this, we know how to kind of become aware of what type of foods we need to eat and how they need paired together. We know that the body needs fueling for 3 different activities. Okay. First up, and most importantly, is your basal metabolic rate. Okay, this is the number of calories that your body needs to do basic functions, and this will include brain function, kidneys, heart, liver, the nervous system. And so just for you to sit and do nothing every day, it costs energy, and we want to make sure that we're meeting those needs. Now, to give you an idea of what those needs are, I've seen them for women to be around 13 to 1500. I've seen men go upwards of like 18 to 2000 for the basal metabolic rate. Okay, so this is just the cost of doing business of the body day in and day out. Okay, digestion is number 2. So digesting food costs energy breakdown. They have the thermic effect of food. So this is foods burn at different rates. So things with fiber, protein, they cost more. It's harder to work, and it's harder to break them down. So consequently, the body is burning through the rate of digestion. And lastly, physical exercise, which is what most people think, and they totally forget about the BMR, the basal metabolic rate. And so physical activity is just the number of calories needed to fuel your body, right? To do just daily tasks and then exercise. And people forget about that daily task thing. And they just focus on getting to trying to eliminate that. They eliminate the physical activity part. That's all they think about. So, couple different things that happen when we cut out our here first. Before we get there, I want to go to cover this part. So clearly define how much you should be eating, and then we'll go into some side effects of under eating, what that looks like, how that feels for the body, and what happens. So first, there are a significant amount of calculators online that will give you a BMR, and what happens is this: you just put in your height, weight, your age, sex, and it will pump out how many calories you need. Now, whether your body is in tune with that or not is the underlying question, what you need to be able to kind of like understand and establish. So if something has the calories, if you've been reducing your calorie intake and consequently reducing your metabolism, or you're muscle wasting, or you don't have a lot of muscle in the body, then your body's not going to need as much. Whereas like physically active, muscle bound type person will need more. Okay. Discovering what this optimal balance for the BMR is a little tricky. We have things like Fitbit that can help identify that outside and get a little closer outside of the calculators themselves. Other factors that come into play when trying to figure out how many calories your body actually needs is obviously physical activity, you have stress levels, sleep, the amount of sleep that you have, chronic diseases and issues from there. There's a couple more after that, but those are the main ones that are going to cause a significant amount of the main factors that cause how many calories you burn. Okay. So one super easy, simple way to figure out what a very baseline, we call it a basement calorie target, is to multiply your body weight by 10. Okay, this will give you a very basic minimum estimate of how many calories you need. So something like an example that I have many women. So a woman that is 5'5", ideal body weight is around 125. So we just simply add a 0 to that, and so about 1,250 calories is the least amount you should be eating, and no further under that. Now so my body weight, I am a 6 foot, 195 pound gentleman. And for me, I'm that would put me at around just under 2,000 calories, which seems fair. I find that based on my physical activity, I do really well around 3,000 calories every day. If I'm busier, especially in like summer months, my steps right now, I have 15,886. In the summer, my winter goals are 17,500 steps. My summertime goals are 22,000 steps, and I rarely clear that in the summer. Winter's tough. It's just cold out and you don't move as much. So things like this will help you adjust how many calories you need. So when I'm busier in the summer, yeah, I do need those extra 500 calories, put me around 3,500 calories average, because I just move that much more than what I do in the winter. So consequently, because I have this thing, it creates awareness around my movement, and consequently it helps me define what my calorie intake is, so that I am not slowly gaining weight over the winter because I'm eating the same as it in summer, but moving less. Okay. Now, we talked about multiplying your body weight by 10 to give us a rough bottom estimate. 11 to 13 is going to be a weight loss range. 14 to 15 is going to be more like maintenance. And then 15 to 16, 17 is going to be really active. Work is active. Work is active. You burn a lot of calories through exercise, through physical activity that you do. So that will help. So we can use that sedentary formula of multiplying by 10, so that we go back to that 5'5" woman that's 125 pounds. If we know that she regularly burns like 200 to 400 extra calories, then she might need to put those back in. So we put her baseline goals around, so instead of 1250, we put it up to like 1550 or 1650 based on her movement for the day. So that'll give you an idea about calorie intake. Now, if you are taller or you weigh more, consequently it takes more energy to move you, and you are likely to have more muscle than a 125-pound female, and therefore you need more calories than that. I know that a lot of women are shocked when I start people at 1,500 because I really don't want to go suggest anything lower, because I just don't find that it works. I see a lot of women that are stuck. Men, unfortunately, they're a lot easier to deal with, and they're the case of they usually are just overeating. Whereas women, they have been ingrained in a sense of dieting for many, many years. They've yo-yoed up and down. They've not had long-term success, and therefore they end up getting stuck in this trap of low metabolisms, and they want to blame it on low metabolism and then their thyroid and this, that, the other, where it might just be that they're not eating enough, and consequently that's the problem, especially with their energy. I heard one lady or one guy, he was eating under 1,700 calories a day when he started tracking with me. I'm like, dude, you're not eating enough. Like, no wonder you claim that you have thyroid issues. You just simply aren't eating enough. And even if he were to do absolutely nothing in a day, which he was far more active, he worked out on a regular basis, and he couldn't figure out why he couldn't lose weight, because his body was just starving and holding on to it. So now, brief little intermixed here is, if a lady is pregnant or expecting, they need like an additional 500 calories on top of that. So this could easily put a female up in the low 2000s, and that will allow them to meet the needs of their baby. Okay. Now, if we have here's an example of an active female weighing about 140, usually burns about 400 to 500 calories a day. Her main goal is to not eat under 1,800 calories. So if we do the simple math of 140 times 10, that's 1,400, plus those 400 to 500 calories, that's 1,800 calories. Now, if she has heavier training days, then she'll likely go into the low 2000s, so 2000 or 2200. Okay, so that varies based on overall exercise. Okay, now, so there is the general idea as far as for women. For men, let's kind of cover that here real quick. Typical male, if we're eating, I would say you could get away with 1800, but that's kind of like the 1200 for women. Not suggested. We're more likely to go like 2000 to 2200 for a low if you're not that active or not that tall. And as the height goes up and your activity goes up, for me, if I'm eating like 2800 calories, I'm likely to start losing weight. It's actually difficult for me to maintain and restrict that much. I'm just hungry. I want to eat, and the foods I eat are mainly starchy carbs. Consequently, have a lot more calories. So if I would just switch to maybe having a giant vegetable smoothie in a day, that might help fill me up and reduce my calorie intake, which would then put me in a calorie deficit and easier to meet those goals. Now, using MyFitnessPal, we're able to actually like correlate this stuff. So you track for a long while, you notice behavior patterns around the food choices that you make, the portion sizes that you're choosing, and then we need to start adapting and tweaking based on the results that your body is getting. So if you aren't losing weight and you're under eating, I would suggest doing a reverse diet, and that is just slowly adding calories back over time for a long period of time. Unfortunately, none of this stuff is fast, and unfortunately, most people have been spending years neglecting this, and so it's not fair. It takes too long. What about the 30 pounds in 30 days? Like, those aren't, your body's not set up because it's hormonally out of balance. There's no muscle mass to support that. So there's no muscle mass to support that, and that is just not a good thing. Next up, let's go into different reasons why eating an extreme restricted calories can be detrimental. Okay, so first it lowers your metabolism, right? So what happens is that your metabolism starts up here, and you have and so what happens is over time is that you end up eating less and less and less, and you never course correct. So then you're ultimately, what happens is, so you eat down here for a long period of time, or you get stuck in the dieting rut and the hamster wheel. So your metabolism slows down over time, and then therefore it lowers. And so you might be not eating a lot, binge, because you can't either maintain that, or you're broken. We'll go over that, where cravings are far more intense. But you binge, and then what happens is that you were down here, and now you're up here, and you're in a caloric surplus, and then you try and work your way back down, and you end up just gaining fat while you have been wasting muscle because you are down in a depressed state with your calories. So your body burns up the most costly tissue on the body, which is muscle. So the biceps, still working on this thing. It's not very big. We'll keep working on it and do more curls, right? I think I just have to do a lot more curls to get those things bigger, okay? Now, here's the other tricky thing is that a lowered metabolism can persist long after the calorie restriction has stopped. And so that's a big issue, right? That is a pretty big issue, and we don't want that. We don't want low metabolism. We want to think of a fireplace analogy. I've explained it before in the past in videos. What the fireplace analogy is we have one fireplace here with a small, tiny opening. We have another fireplace here with a big, wide opening. And the fire inside is your actual metabolism, and the opening, the hearth of it, is your capacity to burn calories. So if you have a tiny little opening, you don't have a lot of capacity. If you have a big opening, you have a lot. Muscle activity, this is more sedentary lifestyle, caloric restriction, muscle wasting activities, okay? And so we want to throw logs into the fire and build that metabolism up so that you can burn calories and a very strong fire flame inside. Okay. Now, found that researchers they end up believing that having a lowered metabolism is one of the reasons why nearly 80%, 90% of people regain their weights. So due to after they regain their weight after their calorie restricted diets end. What happens is it's caused by muscle loss. So the classic yo-yo dieting paradigm. So you start here with your body weight. You do an extreme something to get down to here. And what happens is that you break, you can't maintain, then you end up going back to normal and adding in more food. Then we gain weight, and then that cycle starts again. Like something happens here and it causes you to take action and you start going back down. You don't go as far as low, even doing the same stuff. So whatever you were doing didn't work as well. And then we go back up, and then we go down, and we go up, and we go down and up. And each time you end up wasting more and more muscle, and chances of most people doing physical activity to build the muscles that are going to fuel that fat loss and maintain the body afterward aren't very good, okay? One of the other things when we end up lowering our calorie intake is that I promise you that most people aren't taking in enough protein. And a combination of that without exercise, you're not promoting any type of muscle retention. So if you don't move and you're not feeding your body to build muscle, which protein is building blocks of muscle, then guess what? You are not going to keep this stuff. And consequently, your metabolism lowers, okay? Your BMR lowers, and it's harder and harder to maintain your weight. So after a decade of yo-yo dieting and you get to your 40s, then we're in trouble. 40 didn't feel like the 30s because you built up this long-term calorically restricted mindset that doesn't work for you, okay? Other things that happen when you're not eating enough food is that it causes fatigue and nutritional deficiencies, right? Because you're not eating enough to fuel the energy and meet the basic bodily needs of the body. So your body pulls from all sorts of different other systems, and you feel tired, you feel dragging, and you get that midday sleepiness and fatigue. And a lot of it is just because you're eating too few calories, okay? Secondly, if we're not eating a lot of calories, then chances are we're getting into a more of a nutritional deficiency state, meaning that, and chances are that most people that are in this aren't fueling their body properly because they're not educated on it, or they don't care, or whatever, is that they're not eating enough fruits and vegetables to provide like B vitamins that will lead to energy, or heme and non-heme, which and other B vitamins that provide energy for and fight against anemia, which is low blood iron, and that really hurts you. Now, we also talked about this box. That stored carbohydrate right there that's inside there is energy. So we start moving, that's our gas, and our gas starts to exit the tank, the muscle. The stored glycogen leaves the muscle because you're exercising, working out, and consequently because you're not refilling the tank, you get tired over time. So you do that enough, say you start running a bunch, and 3 weeks later your energy tanks are low, and consequently, like, you don't have energy to move, okay? Other nutrients that end up getting skimped on is one, obviously protein. I mentioned that you're just not eating enough protein-rich foods because you're probably not eating enough, period. Calcium, dark leafy greens, dairy, tofu, are certain places to get that. And again, you're not eating enough to be able to cover your bases there. Thiamine and biotin are B vitamins that with lack, if you limit your intake of those, they end up resulting in muscle weakness, hair loss, scaly skin. Is that why my hands feel scaly? No, I haven't eaten enough. It's water. Drink your water, right? We have vitamin A. This comes from organ meats like liver. We've got fish, dairy, leafy greens, orange-colored fruit and vegetables have a lot of vitamin A, and so this helps with the immune system, so your immunity goes down quite a bit too. If you're not fueling, magnesium is another one that has fatigue. It causes migraines, muscle cramps, and so magnesium is one of those. Just like sodium and potassium, it helps fire the muscle. So we need magnesium in the body to be able to help move it without any issues. Okay. Now we talked about calcium, so it can make your bones weak, and if you're not eating enough, then guess what? Your bones aren't going to be durable to withstand the impact of physical activity, or even worse, falling. So that becomes an issue. All right, so we want to make sure we're eating specifically the calcium-rich foods. Now, surprisingly enough, leafy greens have a fair amount of calcium than you would think. Most people think of just having dairy, which isn't necessarily going to float the boat just because of all that. Another issue that comes up when we're not eating enough is you reduce fertility. So for women, ovulation cycles are more of an issue. Amenorrhea, the irregular cycles, the female athlete triad with excessively low body fats. Women will stop having their period, and that is not a good thing. That is ultimately reducing their hormonal levels and causing a lot of issues along the way. We talked about the reduced, lowered immunity. What happens there is, in this case, our body can get sick easier, and so the common cold and viruses and whatnot really kind of get in the way of being just overall healthy. They're sick more. Okay. Next up, I'm going to keep continuing in on this. Reviewing all my notes. We go back to the hair issue. Okay. We have under eating can cause a drop in your sex drive. Your sex hormones like progesterone, testosterone, estrogen can stop being produced, and they're not as in the state of what they need to. I think sleep actually has an effect on their sex drive as well, and consequently being overweight as well. Hypothyroidism, so that is a low thyroid, which can be developed from long-term calorie restriction, can cause hair loss. Nobody wants that. Adrenal fatigue is a result of trying to stimulate your body through the fight or flight. Specifically, this ends up happening with caffeine. This ends up happening with your energy drinks, and always tapping into those to try and fuel your body rather than just sleep. So you can be hard at risk when you end up trying to rely on energy drinks and consumption of caffeine and B vitamins rather than just eating food, and make sure that you are eating enough. Okay. Sleep, carbs help you sleep more, right? Eating enough helps your body sleep. It slows things down. It allows your hormones to become more balanced, and this helps improve your sleep quality and the duration. You're not necessarily waking up hungry either, and that is a fantastic thing. Blood sugar level is more controlled, and it's doesn't your blood sugar doesn't drop as much overnight, and there is stored glycogen that is ready for your body to get used. So your mood. So let's talk about mood. What we have is there's a number of different things that can come from under eating and your mood. Have you ever heard the term hangry? I'm sure you have, and that is a lot of that is from under eating. Depression comes into this. We have just the actual nutritional deficiencies that can create an environment in the brain that creates imbalances and can adversely affect your mood in general. And you can be more irritated and enraged from that. Panic is another one with your moods and feelings. If you're under eating a lot, you might not necessarily be fully connected to oneself, and kind of sometimes I've seen this referred as like they have a kind of a spaced out sense of feeling, and they can easily get panicked about all sorts of different things. They're emotionally panicked, and this can be brought on by a fear of weight gain, a fear of all sorts of different things in their life. Talk about some obsessions and compulsions. Okay, so obviously obsessions about food is a very you see this in like clean eating lifestyle or in that scale weight. Those become big issues with obsession, or the actual working out. I need to do 2 hours of exercise. Like I've seen a number of people that right here I've been guilty of over exercising in the past. I was training for running events and whatnot, so I was there to do a lot of effort. But you end up really carrying out rigid routines, structures, and that can be pretty tough on you. Other issues that can occur with your mood and whatnot is withdrawal. If you're not eating, your overall energy is down. You end up withdrawing. You have very little willpower. You just kind of retract into the body and into yourself and not really want to do anything. Like, why would you? You just don't have any energy. We talked about the sex drive getting dropped, okay? Hormonal changes in the body, and so therefore you're not as sexually driven. You might not want to connect with your partner or your spouse, which is not a good thing. Your body in itself you just might have a lack of confidence in the way you look and feel about your body, and therefore you won't want to connect with your spouse on that level of intimacy either. An issue here, like body dysmorphia, the feeling fat or not feeling good enough, or not being muscled enough. Those can be issues as well. So if you're always underfed, or you don't have a good idea of what nutrition is and how it'll work for you, then it's really, really easy to get trapped in this feeling fat type of a mood. And this can really have a long-term detrimental problem. Now, other issues that come up when we're doing this is, one is like thinking, your thought patterns, clarity of mind, lack of computing process, ability to not to lack flexibility. Like you just can't be flexible in your thinking anymore. You have difficulty setting priorities. You switch easily from one task to another. You can't multitask. These can be all affected of from low under eating. Concentration is a big one as well. So if we are not eating enough food, we don't have enough energy, and our concentration is bad. This affects the work that we do day in and day out, and the tasks at hand and things that need focus and attention. You're also ultimately kind of going into your productivity is not as good either. You end up focusing a lot of your energy on food because you are under eating. You want to eat more, but this obsession about food and your weight and going back and forth, and this is just I see it wear on people so much. And so people, there was a Minnesota study. I just remembered this Minnesota study. So what they did with these gentlemen is they actually starved them, and not to death or anything, but they starved them quite a bit, and they had an excessively restricted diet. And so what happened was that they started fantasizing about food. They started hoarding cookbooks, cutting out pictures of food, and kind of as like their pinups for this was back in like the 40s. And so it was like they were more interested in for the gentlemen, more interested in pictures of food rather than like say pictures of women or whatnot, which would be pretty typical of the time. Another thing, we go back to the thinking issue, is that you can't deep dive into it. You can't really give the attention that you need to particular issues that are coming up in your life, your friend's life, your family's life. You have a lack of empathy, and you really can't share your experiences and being able to connect with individuals or even have joy. So that is a big issue. Like, who doesn't want to think deep, especially when they're talking to a close friend or relative? We've got irrational thinking. That becomes a big issue as well. So through poor nutrition, your body will not make logical next step connections, and it might skip around a little bit and therefore cause some pretty big issues. As far as behaviors go, specifically related to food, we get into cravings, right? If you're not eating something, you're skipping something, you're not eating a lot in general, cravings become really strong. They oftentimes are self-induced based on sugar intake, based on poor selection of food. Can really you can signal a craving for the body to happen. So not a good thing. And when you can't maintain that mode of under eating or the resistance because it won't stay there forever, you end up binging. And binging ends up adding in to bad behaviors that can even go past just food, but into like smoking and drinking and whatnot. We'll be wrapping up here. What we want to talk about next is the physical effects of undereating. We can have some heart bodily issues. So we have the heart arrhythmias and the conductivity of the heart and the electrical system isn't firing properly. Our blood circulation won't, because there's not enough energy, the blood pressure may fall, and that will cause poor circulation. That will cause issues in the legs. You'll have cold in your extremities, and that will not be a good thing. So your body will actually get colder if we're under eating. So it's like that fireplace analogy. So really hot, small little fire, or really big fire there. We talked about the hormones and the sex hormones and infertility. Talked about bones, digestion. If you're under eating and you're not eating enough fibrous foods, then things slow down. Okay, you can feel bloated. You can feel a sense of fullness without eating enough food. It just kind of slows down and sits in there, and that makes it far more uncomfortable. We talked about the hair kind of falling out. We also want to talk about the skin. The skin changes color, it cracks, it gets scaly, very dry, and early signs of aging. So, one thing I always do with my dry hands, which I feel really dry, I feel dry here and I feel dry right in my mouth. So I have to like really focus on drinking a lot of water now and then into tonight. And then let's wrap things up here. So we really kind of covered a lot today on undereating. We kind of defined what it was. We defined what caloric intake, the basal metabolic rate. Talked about what a good amount of calories is. We went through some of the issues that happen when you undereat, from the physiological to the actual physical, to your hair falling out and stuff, which is not good. A couple things we do want to wrap up with is that your personality, your thoughts, your feelings are directly affected by the food you eat. They give you highs, they give you lows, and your attitude will be swayed by mood swings based on if you're hangry or not. The effects of undereating can be dangerous. I named a bunch of different things related to the heart, to the circulation, to the body, to sex hormones, to lack of connecting with others, and especially yourself. And we can ultimately, lastly, leave you with this, is that we can be obsessed about it. So humans are obsessive creatures in their own right, and this is just another. Overeating is a form of obsession. Undereating is a form of obsession. Overexercising can be a form of obsession. A lot of different things there. So I hope you enjoyed our talk tonight on undereating and its effects. Hope if you can relate to some of those, then please share and let me know, and we can talk further about it and coming up with a game plan to correct this. Oftentimes, I find that the easiest way to correct undereating is doing a reverse diet, where you control the increased calories week in over week over week over week. So add 50 to maybe 100 calories a week, and that will get you back up to maintenance level of calories relatively quick and over a couple of weeks, which then you can start to do work on increasing metabolism, increasing physical activity to build more muscle, and consequently having a much higher metabolic rate. So there you go.